ईश्वर अपने साथ है, करने की क्या बात है। ईश्वर अपने साथ है, करने की क्या बात है। सदा सफलता साथ हमारे, सदा सफलता साथ हमारे, हाथ में उसके हाथ है। ईश्वर अपने साथ है, करने की क्या बात है। सदा सफलता साथ हमारे, सदा सफलता साथ हमारे, हाथ में उसके हाथ है। ईश्वर अपने साथ है, करने की क्या बात है।
Thank you very much. Om Shanti. Very good afternoon and greetings of peace to all of you from Om Shanti Retreat Center, Delhi, India. I think I must congratulate all of you for having taken the initiative to be part of this sharing. And I'm sure as we are all going through these turbulent times now, some of this wisdom is going to help us to sail through what we are going through. Just sitting relaxed on our chair and just to look at the, when we look around our world in which we are living today, just have a panoramic view of the world in which you are living today. You can see very clearly that we have been going through lots of changes ever since. Say, for example, from swinging 60s to vibrant 70s to new age 80s and stressful 90s, and now the 21st century with a lot of uncertainties. So sometimes I would say that living in this 21st century is like a seagoing adventure, sailing towards the unknown. And so we need to adapt ourselves in a very smart way than taking a hard way. And so I would like to try to share with you some of the smart way of adapting ourselves to the changes. One thing we see constantly happening in our life is change itself. You know, it is the law of nature. Change is inevitable, but somehow at the present time, we have been complaining a lot about the changes that we are going through. Maybe perhaps in the beginning of the cycle of life, the changes that were happening in our life was quite slow. We may not even have noticed what was time. So sometimes we cannot cope. So we start complaining about it. I'm sure that, you know, one thing we should really need to do is to get used to the idea of change, because we need to get used to this idea of constantly changing. The more we get used to it, the more easier for us to adopt. And also sometimes, you know, common sense says that change in life is sometimes also good for growth. You know, if there is no changes happening, so there is no growth. Even if you look at the life of a child, when the child is born, it has to go through 4 stages and it has to go through lots of learning process. But if that is not happening, there is no growth. And so change is, in a way, it is good because it helps us to grow. We should really accept the change and not resist it or fight against it, because one thing we need to do is, to adapt myself to the change, I have to change my mindset, my own belief, because we have certain mindset and belief, we are fixed in thinking, and so then for us it becomes too difficult for us to change. So they say that there are three kinds of people in our world today. One kind of people are those who have made up their mind, their mind, belief, mindset, so rigid that they will not change no matter what. Second type of people are those in our world who are prepared to change, provided the changes are according to their favor. Only there are a very few wise people, I would say, who can adapt themselves to the changes and say they are the ones who actually become the agents for the change. So those who adapt, they are the ones who become the winners of the changing times. So I would like to share with you some tips for adapting to the smart change in our life. First and foremost thing is very important is to embrace the change and enjoy it. There is no choice. It is important to embrace the change and enjoy it, which means just accept as it is and flow with it. Flexibility is very important. If you don't need to get excited, become flexible and have a positive frame of mind. Acknowledge it. There should be no denial, because when there is denial, you lose strength and then you are not able to adapt yourself. Sometimes I look at the water. Water is so flexible. It has no shape, but the water can change the shape of the container you keep the water in. So if the water can have adaptability, flexibility, so why not I learn to be flexible to flow with the changes that are happening. So that is how I am able to adapt myself instead of becoming rigid myself. And also actually, sometimes I think we actually look at things in a negative way, and because of the negative attitude that we have, we create a stress even though there is no stress. And so definitely when there is a new house, a new job, and everything new, we have to give ourselves some time to adapt ourselves. So that is why many times I suggest people that don't make too many changes in your life too fast and at the same time. But sometimes people are also anxious. They want to make some changes in their lives, all changes at the same time, and they cannot adapt themselves and they suffer from stress. So that is also one of the reasons that we are not able to enjoy our life. The third important thing, if you want to adapt yourself according to the changes that are happening, you should be firm in keeping your own schedule. Because I may be having some kind of discipline in my life, certain kind of schedule in my life that I am practicing. But when changes are happening, so we lose that regularity, discipline that we have created ourselves. And that also causes a lot of loss for ourselves. So whether it is a physical routine, a spiritual timetable, emotional or mental, you keep your regular schedule as it is. It is like a wave, in the ocean, the waves go high and low. But I don't need to change my way of life because of the high and low tide. It will come and it will go. But I should be what I am And also another very important thing is we are not just body, we are not just soul, we are, body, soul and spirit. So we need to take care of all three aspects: emotional, spiritual and physical. And so spiritually, I need to have certain disciplines in my life, in my lifestyle, and physically, I must really have a healthy diet, because that also helps in adapting myself to the changes. And also very important thing is emotional. My emotional immunity should be strong so that I am able to adapt. Many times when our emotional immunity is not strong enough, we become the victim for the situation. And also during time of changes, I need to be proactive instead of being reactive. Most of us are very good in reacting. We are emotional, and that is not going to help me to adapt myself to the changes. But if I am proactive, I am able to see the benefit, what benefit I am getting from this change that is happening, what lessons I am learning from this. So that will help me to adapt myself. For example, now we were in lockdown for the past 2-3 months. We are not used to that kind of lifestyle, sitting inside the house for 24 hours, 7 days a week. But then in the beginning, I'm sure we all have felt a little bit reactive. But then as we got used to that lifestyle, then we started appreciating, wow, so many things I wanted to do in my life for a long period of time. So I never had the time, now I have time. For example, you may not have had the time to be with your family. So this time you had the whole time to be with your family. Maybe you did not give enough attention to your physical health. So then, we start appreciating this lockdown, this personal time that we had for ourselves. And so in the beginning, when we are not very far-sighted, when we are very narrow-minded, we begin to react. But when we a little bit give ourselves some time to think it over, then we appreciate and thank God and thank everything around me for giving me this opportunity. And I'm sure all of us feel in the past 3 months, going through this lockdown time, changes that are happening constantly has allowed us to grow, on all levels, physically, spiritually, and also socially. So try to be proactive, not reactive. Because when we are reactive, we are always putting blame on others, we are complaining. We never ever have the attitude of gratitude. And so when you are proactive, you are able to look inside and you are able to be having an attitude of gratitude, thanking everything that is happening in your life for your growth. Another important aspect is to practice resilience. It's very important. What is resilience is it's the ability to cope and thrive in the face of negative events, challenges, and diverse situations. It's an ability that helps you to bounce back into your life. So that is very important at the time of changes that are happening around me. And also, you need to focus on your values instead of fears, because the more we are scared of the situation that are changing constantly, the more we are going to magnify the situation. So instead of that, instead of fear, develop faith, because of course, most of the fears that we have doesn't even exist, doesn't even happen. So it is good that if I am able to try and change the fears into value of faith, and also increase your resistance, which is very important. When I have power to resist, I am able to withstand the changes that are happening. I just give you a simple example. You hold a piece of paper in your hand and you also hold a stick. Try to bend both of them. What happens to the paper? It will bend. what happens to the stick? It will break. So that means the paper has the power to resist. So it won't react, but the stick will break. So most of us don't have the power to resist. That's why we react, So if I'm able to increase the power of resistance, so how to increase the power of resistance is I have to empower myself spiritually. We have to empower ourselves spiritually so that I am able to increase my power of resistance. And so in that way, I can cope with whatever is happening around me without reacting to that. So apart from that, my own experience, in adapting myself to the change, I think I also need to train myself, a kind of spiritual training that I need to give myself so that I begin to adapt myself to change. So 3 things. One is, as I said, change your mindset, your belief. Maybe, like say, if you are looking at life as a competition, then you will always, if your belief is life is a competition, you always compare yourself with others. You always judge yourself on the basis of how others are looking at you. But instead, if you change your mindset and look at life as a journey, so everyone is on the journey of life with their own speed, with their own vehicle, with their own destination. So I don't need to compete with others. So this is something very important. So far, our belief about ourselves was that I am a human, and we look at everybody else as human. So in that consciousness, there is a lot of competition. But if I begin to change my consciousness, shift my consciousness from being a body into that soul, the living energy, and then I have my own role to play. So I am able to accept my role and play my role happily. But if there is a mindset that I have had in the past, so the life is a competition, so then I cannot have peace of mind. I won't have satisfaction in my life because competition always ends up with negative, negative feelings. And the second thing is past experiences. When something happens in our life, something that triggers in our life is our past experiences. So because of that past experiences, we are constantly spinning that cycle of vicious thoughts. So we don't have the courage to adapt ourselves to change. So we fall into the same old pattern of life. And so I need to understand, how to transform my subconscious mind using my conscious mind. And the conscious mind is able to cooperate with me when my intellect is awakened. So this is something very important in adapting ourselves to change, because there are different ways of looking at things. All of us may be looking at the same situation, but each one's outlook, vision towards the situation can be so different. And so I need to really, at this point of time, to adapt myself to change, I have to have an awakening intellect. When my intellect is awakened, I am able to understand how the subconscious mind is working and how the subconscious mind is actually creating so much of chaos in my life. And so I am able to control my subconscious mind to some extent. So I am able to attain mastery over myself. So this is something which is very important, because a lot of past experiences comes as a big obstacle in allowing us to adapt ourselves to the changes that are happening. So I cannot be flexible. One is the mindset, the old belief, and the second is the past experience, and the third is actually the information. So we get a lot of information these days from the social media and other things. And so all the information I don't need to store in my intellect, just like you get so many messages on your WhatsApp, so many messages on your email. So many of them may not be useful. So sometimes they say that don't even read them when it is not useful. Delete them without seeing. Because once you see it, it consumes your energy and it makes you become weak. So same thing, we have to be very judgmental in absorbing the information. You know, that is what is creating a lot of fear in adapting ourselves to the changes, lot of fear of the future. And so many of the information we are getting now may not be real. It may be fake. But why should I, get involved in collecting so much of information that creates so much of havoc in my life? So I have to keep my intellect awakened so that I only absorb that information which is true and which is connected with me, which is useful, and the rest I need to delete. Because then the less you are thinking, the less information you have to process, the more power you have within ourselves. And so that will help me to adapt changes that is happening in my life. Anyway, as I said, change is inevitable. Whether you want it or not, it is going to happen. Like that, even the sun goes through 4 stages during the day, whether we want it or not. But I need to make the maximum use of what is happening, take the maximum benefit of what is happening in that way. And the third important thing I always use in my life to adapt myself to change is to see what is happening outside from inside. Usually people see things happening outside from an external point of view, so we really tend to react. But if I can give some time to myself and see from inside out, so then you will have a very broad spectrum. What are the lessons that you are learning from this situation? What is the benefit in this situation? Just like I was talking to you earlier, in the beginning when there was lockdown, first lockdown, there was so much of reaction. How can we stay in the house so long without work? But then after 1, 2, 3 times, we got used to that. And then we started to see the benefit. So we have to give ourselves some time to adapt ourselves. Even suppose, if you change a job, if you change a house, if you migrate from one country to another country, you have to give yourself some time to adapt yourself, because the culture is different, the language is different, people are different, lifestyle is different. So I cannot expect that things happens only the way I want. So I have to be, for some time, be a detached observer, be neutral, observe things that are happening, and then slowly I can, bit by bit, I can adapt myself. So if I do not have that right method, if I don't see things from inside out, to check yourself first of all, as soon as you see some change externally happening. So what is your internal response? How is your emotions? How are your thoughts? How is your attitude? And those things, internal things, are based on your personality. Not everyone may be feeling the same way, That's why they say 2 prisoners were watching from the bar of the cell. One of them saw the stars in the sky, the other one saw the mud. So what makes the difference? Both of them were seeing from the same cell, but each one's subconscious mind is different. So according to that, we see things externally. That's why the expression used in English is, we see things as we are and not as they are. And so I think it is very important we teach ourselves to see things from inside out. How is my response to the external situation, whether there is reaction or response? And we always have to give time to adapt ourselves. We can't expect that to happen in a day or two, And also, look at the situation as a challenge, because changes happens it is a challenge so that we can tap the resource that we have within ourselves. Because sometimes we are very, lazy. We don't make real effort to tap the resource that we have within ourselves. Each one of us, as the psychologists say, we are using only 10% of our mental energy. 90% of our mental energy is not being tapped yet. So this is an opportunity when you look at such situation as a challenge. So then you will have the opportunity to look inside and tap the resource that you have. And then you see that how you can make impossible possible. Now, I just give you a simple example. There was a patient in a hospital. He was bedridden and, he was being looked after by doctors and nurses for a long time. One day, there was a fire alarm. So, of course, you know what happens. Everybody was running to save themselves. And this patient was left alone on the bed. And he had a choice to die or to live. So he decided he wanted to live. He did not want to die. And there was this energy within him. There was no need for him to tap that resource. So he decided to run down the stairs and save himself from the fire. So where was this energy? How he adapted himself to the change? He did not complain that nobody helped me. He did not give up, but he decided, I want to live. So each one of us have enough energy within ourselves to make use of, to adapt ourselves to change, but we are only depending on the external resources to help us. But we should also use the internal powers that we have inherited from God that is within ourselves to make use of it. And when you experiment it, you will see how to great extent you have adaptability. You can transform the situation from negative to positive. And of course, another important aspect I always remember to adapt myself to change is that things happens in our life for a reason. Nothing happens in anyone's life without a reason. So this thing is happening in my life to teach me a lesson. The sooner I learn a lesson, the faster I will move forward. Otherwise, I will be stuck. Time and tide waits for no one. It will keep on moving. But if I don't learn the lesson that situation is teaching me, I will be left behind. And so look out for the lessons. Life is a school and we are students of the school of life, and it's a lifelong journey. So changes happens in our life to make us learn new lessons, and new lessons allow us to grow and become better persons. And also it is important that, we should change our pattern of thinking, because there are some people who are always pessimist. They always look at the dark side of things. And so they get scared and then they create an atmosphere of fear. This will happen, that will happen. At the end of the day, nothing happens actually. And so we have to actually change our way of thinking, from being a pessimist, become an optimist. So optimist means to see always the bright side of things. Optimist means a positive thinker. So looking at every difficulty as an opportunity, looking at every problem as a challenge, reacting and not reacting but responding. So in that way, I energize myself, because now is the time for us to energize ourselves so that we can use that energy to face the changes that are happening without running away from it. Because in psychology, they always talk about flight or fight. Either you fight with the situation that you are facing or you move away from there. Of course, running away from any situation is not going to help you to adapt. It is better I stay put in the place where I am and then I teach myself to adapt myself. So I need to learn especially 8 spiritual powers in order to adapt myself to change. No, these spiritual powers are actually the powers that we inherit from God. So my own experiences after coming to Raj Yoga, practicing meditation, connecting myself with my soul and then to God, and I draw that energy that manifests into different forms. Sometimes tolerance, sometimes accommodation, sometimes judge, sometimes cooperate. So at this point of time, you know, in this 21st century, you may have atomic power, you may have muscle power, you may have money power, and that is not going to help you adopt yourself to the changes. These spiritual powers, which works like weapons, that will help me to overcome the situation without getting affected. So I really recommend to you should really go for it to draw those powers, make yourself empowered with those spiritual powers. You know, they are like armor. See, when a warrior wears an armor, you know, nothing, no bullet can touch him. Nothing from external can affect him. And so we are able to spiritually empower ourselves with these spiritual powers, with the practice of meditation, with the practice of spirituality and wisdom in our life. And that helps us to overcome the difficult situation without feeling any kind of difficulty. And also, as I was mentioning, it is very important to enhance our emotional immunity. You know, one is physical immunity that helps us to make our physical immunity with medication, with some kind of positive thinking. But for emotional immunity, I just want to suggest a few thoughts. You know, first of all, I think we should always know that the first thought we have in the morning is a very important thought. And so it is very important that we wake up in the morning with that positive note, having kind of gratitude, gratitude to God, gratitude to myself. Because, you know, we are lucky that we have another day in our life to live with. So this attitude of gratitude should replace with complaints. The more you complain, the moment you wake up, the more negative energy, the more weak you become to face life throughout the day. So always begin your day with this note, the first thought that I am gratitude, I am thankful to God, thankful to my family, thankful to the nature. Thank as many as you want. So the first 10 to 20 minutes that you have, it's very important to energize your immune system, your subconscious mind, because, you know, when you wake up in the morning, your subconsciousness is very fresh. Whatever you put into your subconscious mind, that is what you become. And then we always suggesting to people that the second thing that you need to do is to consume positive energy by creating affirmative positive thoughts about yourself. You know, instead of thinking, I cannot do this, I am weak, I am sick, you know, create maybe 5 or 6 thoughts in the morning, like I am a peaceful soul, I am a fearless soul, I am a powerful soul, I am healthy, you know, I'm surrounded by God's protection and God's blessing. So, you know, just to repeat those thoughts to begin our day, it really enhances our emotional immunity. And particularly this positive affirmative thoughts helps us a lot. And so I think we should experiment, especially the first, as they say, first 30 minutes of the day is very important. At least at that time, we should not entertain ourselves looking into the computer, looking at our emails, looking at our WhatsApp messages. From experience, I also feel that you consume that kind of energy that depletes you during the day. So instead, for the first half an hour or an hour, keep away all those things and try to connect yourself with yourself and connect with God and have affirmative thoughts and try to, be as grateful as possible. So that actually not only enhances your emotional immunity, but also physical immunity. The same thing goes with the night also. Before going to bed also, we need to slow down and we need to make sure, again, we have such affirmative, positive note for ourselves so that, whatever you put in, that is what it comes into your dreams. Physically, you may sleep, but mentally you are not sleeping because there is still emotional instability. So by introducing this kind of method, it helps to a great extent to prepare ourselves to face the future without fear. That is something we need to understand, to prepare ourselves to face the future without fear. It is just that one thing you can also practice. Whatever you don't understand in your life, sometimes what is happening in your life, just one simple secret, just close your eyes and take a deep breath and say, God, I know it is your plan, just help me through it, okay? So don't get confused. No, we have to be light and easy, because whether you want it or not, whatever has to happen, it will continue to happen. But I need to prepare myself by keeping some of these tools with me so that I become the agents for change. And so this is what we believe in Raj Yoga also. When I change, the world changes. And so when I transform, the world transforms. So even one person in the family, if they are able to create such a state of mind by adapting themselves, so seeing them, others will automatically get that energy to flow with the changes. Anyway, I think what is happening now, it is not going to be a permanent one. It is also going to pass. This is how you gain the courage, just to have the feeling that everything that is happening in the drama of life is a passing phase. So this scene will also pass. So then with that understanding, I can remain stable in my stage. If I lose my stability, everything around me becomes shaking. So that's why it is very important to create a firm state of mind, a positive belief about myself, about the drama of life, so that I am able to take the maximum benefit, to learn and to change myself according to what is happening around us. So I leave you with some of these thoughts, and think about it and see what you can adapt in your life and make your life more pleasant, not complaining, but instead of complaining, you can express gratitude towards yourself, towards others, and towards God. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Meera. As usual, you have given us a lot of thoughts that we need to sit down and re-listen and practice this. But a few thoughts before we start with the question and answer that really touched me was what you said about change is inevitable. Sometimes we know that, but we just tend to forget that. And so that's why we are not able to accept change. And of course, also what you said about emotional immunity. This is something that we have never thought about, or I have never thought about it, because we always think about the body and our immune system of the body to make sure that we don't fall sick, especially with all this that is going on right now. But we have never thought about emotional immunity. So this is indeed a very nice input that you gave us. There are some questions that I will read out to you right now. In Indonesia, they are starting with what they say is the new norm. So they are going to say, they are saying because we are starting after this Eid break, things are opening up and offices are opening up, the malls are opening up. So they are calling it the new normal. How do we adapt to this? Can you give us some tips?
What are those new normal? I don't know. If you can let me know what is that new norm.
So the new norm is, of course, like everywhere else in the world, that we have to wear a mask, we have to maintain distance, we have to keep our hygiene. So apart from that, certain normals are like the restaurants cannot open for a certain period of time. And then even if they open, they have to have distance. So things are not going to be the same. Even businesses are not going to be the same because a lot of people have had major losses.
I think this is very good actually. Hygiene is good anyway, even otherwise also. We could have started this hygiene long ago, but anyway, the circumstances is forcing us to maintain that physical hygiene. And also I think it is good that now we have to live with this lifestyle to wear the mask all the time. It's part of our lifestyle, accept it. You know, that's why I said embrace the change. Don't make a fuss about it. It's just like you wear other clothes. So this is another part of the system. Just accept it. And of course, social distance, again, it is for our own safety. You know, when we look at all these things the government has prescribed, it is not for the benefit of anybody else, for our own self. So not only for myself, when I follow these norms, I am helping another person also not getting sick. You know, when you maintain social distance, you are not helping yourself, but you are also helping another person. And so let us look at all the new norms as something which is a safety device for us to help ourselves to be healthy and also allow others to be healthy so that we can live a peaceful, healthy and happy life.
The next question is, business is affected due to the current situation, which affects our mind. Mind affects the body, then it affects our relationships. How do we break this cycle?
Of course, you know, that's one thing, again, I will repeat, we have to accept that it is true, businesses are affected. So we have to learn to lead a simple life. You know, before when we had a lot of money, we were driving big cars and we were living in big mansions and we had many servants and all these luxuries. Now, because there is no business, there is no money. So I have to accept to lead a simple life, you know, lead a simple diet, drive a simple car, you know, and if you don't have many servants, try to learn to do things by yourself. You know, during this lockdown time, people have learned to help each other in the family and get the work done. It is already done. It's possible. I think this situation is teaching us to be economical, to be simple, so that we are able to lead a peaceful life. So there is no need to get stressed, you know, no need to allow the business, the lack of wealth, that should not affect my mind, that should not affect my body. So become simple. You know, eat a simple diet. You don't need 36 varieties of food. Now, what the body needs a healthy diet. And so in that way, you can become more economical, your time will be saved, and you will have more values in your life. That is what Mahatma Gandhi said. Simple living, high thinking. So don't think that it will affect your body and mind, because you change your lifestyle. Make a change in your lifestyle, become more simple. So in that way, you will not feel the, you know, the lack of money, lack of wealth that is coming from the business affects your family life or personal life. That's my feeling.
The next question is, I have been practicing meditation for quite some time now, but since this pandemic has come up, I'm not able to meditate or concentrate. What must I do?
So what you do is you begin your day with one positive thought. You know, when you wake up, first thank God and be grateful for the day and create one positive affirmative thought. Just for today, I'm going to be peaceful. And then first 10 minutes, you just meditate on peace. How you are going to conduct yourself by being a peaceful being. And once you start, once you start this exercise every morning for 10 minutes, you will sow a seed of positive personality within yourself. And then during the day, what you can do is stop maybe for a few seconds every hour and remind yourself of the positive thought you began the day with. And then at night, make sure that you go to sleep without having any kind of things that are happened during the day on your mind. Hand over everything to God, empty yourself totally like a child going to mother's lap. So practice this positive thought exercise maybe for 1 or 2 months. You will gain your own focus to meditate, naturally. That's my advice.
It's connected to the first question, sister, that when I meditate, I have a lot of other thoughts that come in, some negative thoughts, some waste thoughts. How do I control it at that time?
See, you don't need to control. When you control someone, they rebel, they react. It's like a spring. When you press the spring, for a while, it's okay. And when you raise the hand, it will jump up. So we don't teach people to control your thoughts. What you need to do, the first step of meditation is you stand back and observe the thoughts. Observe the thoughts on the screen of your mind. Okay? So when you keep observing the thoughts on the screen of your mind, it will slow down slowly. And then you choose a few thoughts to direct your mind. So you don't need to suppress, you don't need to resist, you don't need to react. You don't need to control. We don't teach people to control. We only teach people to channelize the energy in a positive direction. Before even you channelize the energy in a positive direction, first stand back, observe. Observe. You will see the magic. The thoughts will slow down. The more you tell your mind, don't think about it, it will think about it more. You make the mind more, more like a monkey than before. So don't resist. Just observe and let it slow down and choose few thoughts and direct your mind. That would help you.
Next one, sister, is what is the root cause which stops us from changing according to situation or people?
What is the
root cause for us not able to change to situation or according to what people would want us to be?
No, but first of all, I need to adapt myself according to the situation. I have to be flexible. Each one of us have our own belief system, right? How the things should be. But when we are living in a society, when you are living in a community, you have to consider everyone else's views and beliefs also. So I should be able to be flexible to move along with other people's opinion. So in that way, I am able to be the winner. You know, sometimes I have to lead and sometimes I have to follow. When you are living in a family, you know, when you are living in a community, always your thought cannot be carried out. I should know that I have to follow sometimes, I have to lead sometimes. I have to be a child, I have to be a master. Sometimes your grandchild can give an opinion which you may have to follow. And sometimes your grandchild has to follow what you say. So in that way, you know, we are able to work together in harmony, not in, you know, unity in diversity. So in that way, there is cooperation instead of confrontation. So then it becomes easy to adapt ourselves according to the changes. That is my feeling.
The next question is how to deal with people who distract us from the changes we are willing to adopt. For example, I will talk about myself. Since the day I have joined the spiritual path, people around me are expressing their hate towards me in different ways. What must I do?
So you just don't care about them, because if you start listening to, if you start responding to all the negative reactions of the people, I cannot be nowhere. So we must understand that when we adapt something positive, which people are not used to, in the beginning there will be reaction, but I need to have patience, because when they see the change in me over a period of time, they will begin to appreciate. You know, like for example, when we come to Raj Yoga, say we wake up in the morning or we become vegetarian, so the other people are, you know, passing comments in such a, you know, not a good way, so that can affect my stage, but I just have to ignore. What they are saying, they do not know why they are saying it. I don't have any expectation, because if I have expectation that everyone should behave with me, interact with me in a positive way, so that may not be possible. So when I am on the path of spirituality, those who are not inclined to spirituality tend to hate you, but you don't take it as hate, but you just forgive them for what they are doing, because they are not aware. It's my expectation that creates disappointment in my life. So don't have any expectations.
We have one more question, Sister Meera. How can we bring greater change on deeper subconscious level?
How to bring deeper changes in the subconscious level? See, whatever is my subconscious mind, it shows up in my conscious mind, right? Either it shows up in my conscious mind or it shows up in my dreams. So then I have to accept it. It is in my subconscious mind and I want to remove it now. I don't like to keep it in my subconscious mind. So consciously I have to accept it, and then I have, first of all, I have to identify it. Then I accept. Then I create a kind of disinterest, a kind of dislikingness, a kind of hate towards that negative subconscious mind, which is not helping me to progress, which is not helping me to have good relationship with others, nor having successful, you know, career. So when I am able to create that disinterest in my heart, I am able to let go of it permanently. But we are not letting go of it because we are not accepting. There is self-denial, you know, but we feel shame to accept it, but it's okay. It's no need to feel shame. It is, you know, but now I don't want to have it because it is causing so much of obstacles every step. And so I create an attitude of disinterest, and that disinterest will allow me to renounce it for all the time. So it's an exercise that I need to do with myself, and Raj Yoga practice helps us to a great extent to transform that subconscious, deep subconscious mind so that I am able to work in harmony with the three faculties, the abilities of the soul, mind, intellect, and sanskaras. Okay?
Meera, just when I told you there is another last question, are you okay with it?
Yeah, okay. Then we can have some meditation. Yeah.
Yes. How do we face people who has difficulty in managing changes in their lives due to loss of income, due to company closure during this pandemic?
No, it is a real situation. It's not anything, exaggerated or magnified. We see such situation every now and here. And actually, we need to have a lot of mercy for such souls from our heart, because we know that what they are going through is real. And so, but we should not have pity for them. Because when you have pity for such souls, they become dependent on you, and you will be in trouble. But you must definitely have mercy. See, God has mercy on us, what we were going through. So He forgive us whatever we did. And so then the next thing after mercy should follow is a feeling of forgiveness. Not to keep anything in my heart about that person for what they are going through, but share that love, feeling of love, acceptance, and send good wishes and pure feelings. Because they themselves don't have energy, so you are giving them glucose. Giving good wishes and pure feelings is like putting somebody on a drip, giving somebody energizer. So send out good wishes and pure feelings, because it's a real situation they are going through, and I wish that they can go through it faster and finish it. Let God give them power to overcome this situation. So like that, I send out positive energy towards them, not react or not feel pitiful for them, but mercy for them. So in that way, I will not be affected, and I am able to help them to bring them out from the situation that they are going through. This is what we need to, because after all souls are God's children. They are my family, so they are part of my family also. So how will I help a member of my family? So I will give some of my power, my good wishes, to lift them up so that they can help themselves, right? So that is how we can help each other. Okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sister. That point of mercy was very, very deep and very nice. If you could guide us with a guided meditation before we end.
Yeah.
Something that we can use on a daily basis.
Yes.
Thank you.
So as I was mentioning that, every morning when you wake up with the feeling of gratitude, a lot of gratitude, thankfulness to everything around you, everyone around you, even light, water, heat, breathing, life, people. So your heart will be filled with love. And then you can begin meditating by just becoming aware. Who am I? Find a quiet place. Who am I? Where I have come from? What is my relationship with God? So begin by realizing I am a living energy, a soul in this body, my costume. I am light, a sparkling, living light in the center of my forehead. I am eternal, imperishable, immortal soul I am peace. I am love. I am power. I am feeling very light in this awareness of being the living light, full of energy. Enjoy this awareness. And I am becoming so light that I can lift myself beyond this body. See yourself moving upwards as a beam of light, going beyond this world of cosmos into the dimension of golden red light. Enjoy the vibrations of this region of golden red light, sweet silence. In this region of golden red light, I, the being of light, I see myself in the presence of God, the supreme light. I connect myself with the source of peace, love, and light. Like the sun, the supreme light is showering so much light and might. I am totally enveloped in the light of God. I stay connected. I draw all the powers, energy from God. I feel totally empowered, energized. From a distance, I, the being of light, return to my body, totally empowered, energized to face the challenges of change. Now I have flexibility to flow with the change and enjoy the rest of my life. Om Shanti. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Meera, for giving us this time and opportunity. Thank you once again. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We keep having sessions such as like these on various topics. So do drop me a message if you are interested so I can keep you updated. Thank you.
So we also congratulate Sister Jabin for taking the initiative to bring all of us together. Thank you so much, Jabin.
Thank you, Sister. Om Shanti.